Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful way of thinking about who you are, and it comes from Thézé's Notes on the Personal Dimension. It's an idea that pretty much challenges the whole concept of having a single true self. So let's just jump right in with a question that, we all kind of wrestle with at some point. When you strip everything away, your job, your family, your hobbies, what's left? Well, the answer might be completely different from what you've always thought.
According to Thézé, the very language we use to answer that question shapes everything. Seriously. Choosing to call yourself a person instead of, say, an individual or a subject, that's not just semantics. It's a really deliberate choice that draws a line between the rules you play and the core you that's actually living life.
And that leads us right into the first big idea we need to tackle to really get this framework, the difference between the person and the character. Okay, so on one side, you've got your characters. Think of these as all the social roles you perform every day. You're a parent, you're an employee, you're a friend. These are functions, right? Things you share with millions of other people. But the person, that's something else entirely. It's not some hidden true self behind all these masks. Instead, the person is this mysterious I that lives its life by playing these different characters. And this quote? It just completely flips the whole idea of authenticity on its head. Being authentic isn't about finding one true self and just sticking to it no matter what. No, it's about acknowledging that you live through all your various roles. That's not being fake. That's just the fundamental way we exist as people. Let's make this a bit more concrete. Think about a pianist. The single act of playing the piano actually creates multiple, totally distinct characters. You have the private character, who's playing just for themselves. Then there's the student, who plays for their teacher. And then there's the public performer, playing for a whole audience. Same action, but completely different characters emerge. So what about that feeling of stage fright? What the French call le trac. Thézé argues it's not just about being scared of what people will think. It's actually the powerful emotional signal you get when your private practicing character suddenly collides with your public performing character right there on stage. It's the friction between your roles that you're feeling. Okay, so if we aren't our roles, but we live through them, then where does our unique self, our person, actually exist? Where does it take shape? Well, it forms in what Thézé calls the personal dimension. Now, this isn't a fixed part of you. Think of it more like a dynamic, invisible field that pops into existence in the spaces between your characters. In the handoffs, the overlaps, and the collisions of your different social lives. You know that slightly awkward moment when your boss meets your best friend at a party? Or when you run into a serious work colleague while you're out with your kids and you're in total parent mode? That feeling of two worlds colliding? That's it. That is a flicker of the personal dimension. It's a moment where your roles are forced to interact and something totally new gets created right there in that gap. Now, here's the tricky part. This dimension, it's impossible to see directly. You can't put it under a microscope. But according to Thézé, we can catch glimpses of its structure in a pretty surprising place: art and stories. Ever wonder why some stories or pieces of art just resonate so deeply with you, even if they're centuries old? Thézé's idea is that it's because artists, often without even realizing it, embed the structure of their own personal dimension, the unique way their characters connect and disconnect right into their work. We're not just responding to the plot, we're recognizing a familiar pattern of human experience. For example, look at how this changes the way we interpret stories. A simple, naive reading of Molière's play The Miser just sees the main character, Harper Gone, as a really greedy guy. End of story. But a personal interpretation sees something way deeper. It sees the play as a kind of formula for a specific moment in our personal lives. That moment when our roles get confused and a part of us just panics, and it clings to its resources and refuses to share. Harper Gone isn't a person. He's a symbol of that impulse in all of us. And this framework, it doesn't just explain identity. It also offers a really powerful way to understand unhappiness, what Thézé calls mal de vivre, which is kind of like a fundamental sickness of living. This unhappiness often happens when we fall for what he calls a counter-truth. Now, this isn't just being wrong about something. A counter-truth is a powerful reductionist idea that convinces you that your entire being is one singular character. It's when you believe you are your job title or you are your political party. It just flattens all your amazing complexity into one thing.
So here's the bottom line. That feeling of unhappiness, that sense that something is deeply wrong even when our basic needs are met, it's often a direct symptom of our personal dimension being squeezed and constrained by these simplistic counter-truths. We feel trapped because we've been convinced that we're only one of our many, many roles.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what do we do about it? This isn't just some abstract theory. It actually points toward a really practical way to live a richer, more meaningful life. How do you actively nurture and expand this personal dimension? This space where your values and your unique sense of self are actually born. Well, the path forward is really about embracing your complexity. First, just start consciously recognizing the different characters you play every single day. And instead of avoiding those awkward moments where your roles overlap, lean into them. That's where the magic happens. When you engage with art, look for the patterns underneath, don't just follow the plot. And finally, telling your own stories helps you see the unique connections, what Thézé calls the articulations, between all the characters in your own life. And that leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought. This whole idea, it frees you from that exhausting, impossible search for one single authentic you. Instead, it invites you to find meaning not in some fixed identity, but in the dynamic, complex, and beautiful interplay of the many lives you are already living. So what becomes possible when you stop trying to be one thing and start embracing the rich space between everything you are?